Alchemilla is the name for a type of flower that includes about 300 species, more commonly known as lady's mantle. The most common type, Alchemilla vulgaris, is often referred to as woman's herb because of its myriad uses. Made into an herbal tea, it's said to treat menopausal symptoms, menstruation pains, and other gynecological issues. It's a member of the rose family, mostly found in Europe. Given what's happened to Alessa, it's quite upsetting to think the hospital was named for a flower associated with feminine health. The hospital seems normal at first. Early exploration reveals 2 maps, one for the hospital, one for the basement, and a nearby basement key. Early on, we're seeing heavy focus on the hospital's basement, perhaps hinting that there's something to be found down there. The most important thing to be found in this section is, strangely enough, an innocuous plastic bottle. If the player has the bottle, they can use it to obtain some of the red liquid on the floor of Kaufman's office. There's a broken bottle by the desk, which Harry says it looks as if it was broken on purpose, and a mysterious red liquid. Taking this liquid is the difference between Sybil's death or survival. Otherwise, there isn't much to find just yet. The hospital looks ordinary. Most doors are locked or blocked off. Eventually, Harry can find the generator room, where he must turn on the generator to reactivate the elevator. This leads to the transformation to the Otherworld, just as turning on the boiler room in Midwich led to the same. There's an association between mechanisms and the power of the Otherworld, that turning them on activates the transformation. But first, Harry must enter the elevator. There are 3 main floors and the basement, but going to these levels leads to dead ends. It's only once Harry has tried all these floors that suddenly a new button will appear for the mysterious 4th floor. In Japanese, the word for the number 4 sounds very similar to the word for death. For that reason, 4 is a bad luck number, an evil number, very similar to how the West views the number 13. There are buildings in the United States that will skip the number 13 when assigning numbers to their floors. Japan does something similar with 4. Here, in this hellish town, we see the number 4 appear out of nowhere, and to a Japanese audience, that is an immediate red flag. Harry has no choice but to go to this floor, however. It's a long hall that leads back to the main hospital, and after Harry's traveled through it, the 4th floor will disappear, and the hospital will have transformed into the deadly Otherworld. While the elevator opens onto the 4th floor, the scene will change, and the player will see a short cutscene. We see a familiar figure, the girl in blue, Alessa, entering an antique shop. It's a short and mysterious scene, and it occurs almost simultaneously, as if Harry is entering the Otherworld just as Alessa is entering the store. There's no map for the 4th floor. Harry won't be able to examine it until he returns to the main hospital. The atmosphere is completely different. The floors are replaced with rusted metal grates, beneath which there's a long fall into the darkness below. The windows are barred shut, and there's blood everywhere, vibrant bloody red covering most of the walls. While Midwich transformed into a dark shadowy maze full of dead bodies, Alchemilla is a bright red prison, which teeters between the real and unreal. Midwich was mostly realistic, but Alchemilla is unreal. Floors are entirely gone, revealing an abyss below. Strange sounds will occur without warning, and parasites fill the halls. Nearly all the monsters in this level are parasitic. There's giant cockroach-like bugs, which have appeared before, as well as new creatures. Now, in the Otherworld, Harry will see the first doctors and nurses, transformed by growths on their backs. The parasite that appears in this level, and later in the game, will never appear in the Silent Hill series again. This is the first and only time the town will employ a creature that can control human beings and turn them into monsters against their will. Though in Silent Hill 3, Claudia will do something similar to the missionary. Besides the fleshy, dead-looking humps, the nurses and doctors appear human. Presumably, they are normal human beings, and it leads one to wonder if we are killing people when we fight these things. The fact that the parasite only appears in this game and is focused on the hospital says a lot about the themes of the story. Alchemilla was Alessa's prison. She was forcibly kept alive by the doctors there, hidden from sight. They planned to use her power for their own ends, like parasites themselves, feeding on her suffering to serve their goals. In Alessa's mind, the doctors and nurses of Alchemilla are parasites, and so in the Otherworld they become exactly that. There's also the Bloodsuckers, which appear twice in the game. They're a trio of tentacle-like beasts that flail about madly, feasting on blood. This too likely reflects on how Alessa saw the people who worked here, as blood-sucking leeches, feeding off her tormented body. There's a lot of interesting foreshadowing for the final level of the game here. There's a bird cage in one room that's empty, completely out of place and seemingly unimportant. Later, in Nowhere, that bird cage will appear again. As a symbol, the bird cage is associated with imprisonment, specifically of the bird, a symbol of freedom and flight. What's worse, since this bird is gone, it implies something has happened to the creature. First it was imprisoned, now it's vanished, very similar to how Alessa was trapped, and soon will be made into a sacrifice. There's a wall with a plate screwed into it, which the player can't remove. Only later, with the screwdriver, will Harry be able to obtain the key hidden behind it. And there's the VCR. Harry finds a videotape in the basement. When played, all that can be seen is static and a few choppy words. Later, Harry will be able to play it again and see a brand new message. It's like the radio motif in Silent Hill 2. At the beginning of the game, James hears his wife's choppy, broken message through the radio, but doesn't understand it. Only later, once he's remembered everything, will the message replay clearly. An interesting coincidence. The room with the VCR, which appears twice in the game and is used to reveal the videotape's message, is room 302. That number will appear again in Silent Hill 4 as a focus of the game. The main puzzle in the hospital is the Colored Plates puzzle. Harry must find 4 plates named for 4 characters from Alice in Wonderland: the Cat, Queen, Turtle, and Hatter. The characters on these plates are, once again, the side characters who either assist Alice or, in the Queen's case, try and keep her from progressing through Wonderland. The Hatter is a character outside of time. He survives beheading and ends up trapped in tea time for the rest of eternity. He's quite mad, a reference to the illness that often plagued hat makers of Lewis Carroll's time, and he is one of many characters Alice meets as she explores Wonderland. In Silent Hill, his plate is set upon a wall behind the Bloodsucker monster. To obtain it, the player must find the blood bag and use it to distract the Bloodsucker and open the path to the wall. The Queen's plate, which is a suitably red color, is found in the hospital director's room, perhaps a reference to her own authority. She's the most powerful and dangerous character in the book, and threatens multiple characters with beheading multiple times, though she rarely follows through. Given that this is Kaufman's office, this is perhaps a warning about the man. The Queen was Alice's enemy, and Kaufman is our enemy, a man keeping secrets and hiding his involvement. The Turtle plate refers to the Mock Turtle, a character that Alice must listen to in the book. In the game, the plate is found in the showers, and the plate itself is blue, a suitable reference to the Mock Turtle as a sea creature. The last is the most famous, the Cat. The Cheshire Cat appears throughout Wonderland, a mysterious figure that spouts strange knowledge and disappears without a trace. The plate for the cat is found on the back wall of room 306. Once the player has all 4, they can use the plates to solve the Colored Plates puzzle. It's a rather straightforward riddle. There are 8 slots in the door, 4 of which are already filled with colored plates. A note on the wall nearby lists various things. Clouds flowing over a hill. Sky on a sunny day. Tangerines that are bitter. Lucky 4-leaf clover. Violets in the garden. Dandelions along a path. Unavoidable sleeping time. Liquid flowing from a slashed wrist. The list corresponds to the colors on the plates and shows the order they must be placed into the door. It starts with lovely poetic descriptions of the colors. Clouds are white, the sky is blue. But by the end of the poem, we've changed to something much darker. Unavoidable sleeping time is black, like the back of your eyelids, which can refer to having to sleep, or the unavoidable end of life that is often associated with eternal sleep. The last is red for blood, but not just any bloodshed. The imagery here is heavily associated with suicide. This lovely poem quickly transforms into something horrifying, like so much of Silent Hill does. Clearly, Alessa is heavily focused upon death and killing herself. Once the door is unlocked, the player can pass through the nurse center into the other half of the hospital. Harry makes it back to the basement, where he must push a shelf out of the way to reveal a secret door and find the path to the level below. Below the basement is another secret area, almost like the basement's basement that's mentioned in Silent Hill 2. To get there, he must get rid of the vines covering the grate over the stairwell. These growths seem to imply that it's been a very long time since anyone went down there. Using the lighter and disinfecting alcohol he found elsewhere, Harry burns the vines off. In Silent Hill 3, his daughter will perform a similar task, to create fire and pass through a doorway. Once again, when Harry descends to this new area, he won't have a map to rely on. This is where he finds the tape for the VCR, and where he'll find Alessa's room. Walking in, Harry will comment that it looks like someone's been here, which goes against the idea that no one's been down here for a while, given the grate covered in vines. Or is this because no physical person has been here, and it's Alessa's spirit that Harry senses? There's a picture of the young girl by the bed, and this is where Harry will first learn her name. Skeletons in the Rain is a fast-paced, pulse-pounding thriller about a former priest who has to uncover the secret identity of a deadly gang leader while confronting his own past. After the death of someone he loved very much, local priest Ishmael Neighbor has vowed to leave the accursed town of San Isidro for good. But the Skulls, a dangerous gang, and their leader the Mime King have other plans for him. They stalk him day and night, asking the same terrifying question: who? Desperate to escape, the priest soon realizes he needs the help of an old friend who he hasn't spoken to in years, Abraham Perez, the chief of police. The problem is that Ishmael and Abe share more than a broken friendship. A dark secret lies between them, a secret that could get everyone they care about killed. This book is available on Amazon in both Kindle and paperback formats in Spanish and English.